Good morning, beloved community. RevElisha here. As you can see, I'm not there with you right now. And as some of you know, I was not with you last week because I had a cold. And in the midst of all of the wonderful things we've been doing, if you remember, a couple weeks ago, we as a community, we walked in the Pride Parade and participated downtown with the greater community. The Sunday before that, I was in Oakland at Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, and Reverend Sunshine Michelle was here with you, and we did a pulpit swap, building, co-community across county lines. And then I got sick, and I wasn't here, and I have been preparing to go on retreat for a period of time, to get some time away, to do some reflection, to catch the emerging vision for myself, for our community. And, having not been there last week and having been out in the community doing so many things in the last number of weeks, and then preparing to be away for another Sunday or two, I suddenly found myself in this internal conflict where I started thinking I should cancel my retreat because I haven't been with you for a number of weeks. And I have an obligation to this community, to all that we're doing, to the growth and the magic that's happening here. And I want to be there for it. And then I realized, while talking to Reverend Tamara, that this month, our theme is embracing self-care. And in this churning of what I need to do for myself, to take care of me, to show up for you, to be here for the long haul, to support this emerging community evolution that we're participating in, I actually have to prioritize my retreat, my rest and restoration. And I find it a little bit hilarious that in this month of embrace self-care as a spiritual practice, that I actually thought to myself, I need to meet an obligation. I need to put off this time I need that I know for myself in order to show up for my community. And our beloved Reverend Tamara said to me in a phone call earlier this week, Elisha, it would be hypocritical of you to cancel your time away for your self-care, to come here on Sunday and stand on the stage and tell all of us that we need to embrace our self-care as a priority in our lives in order to show up for the things that are important for us. So I've been in this bit of a struggle around this thing for myself, because don't we all feel the struggle of, or the pull, the tug of war that goes on within us between our obligations to our work, our passions, our family, our community, the world, the things that we're working on, the things that we've said yes to, and also the need to say yes to ourselves, to take care of ourselves, to slow down and nurture ourselves. A couple weeks ago when Reverend Sunshine was with us, she referred to the book Rest is Resistance, which I've also been reading. And one of the things that book has been reminding me of is that rest, recuperation, retreat, time away is the birthplace of creativity. It's the birthplace of inspiration. And if we get stuck on the short term, saying, I have to show up right now in order to do what I said I'm going to do, or to be where I say I need to be, and we put ourselves off, it's going to hinder us from showing up in the long run. So I want all of us to look to the vision, to look to our passions, to look to the things that are calling us, and then recognize for ourselves what it is that we need to do to take care of ourselves in the process so that we can be here for the long haul. I want to tell you, my community, my beloveds, my friends, my family, I am here for the long haul. And what I am learning for myself in this month of embracing self-care is that my job this month is to do it, not just talk about it. So I'm going to see you in a couple weeks. We've got a beautiful couple Sundays planned while I'm away. I look forward to seeing you, and I invite each and every one of you to think for yourself as you move through your life, how do I put myself first? As a deep need to take care of myself, to get the restoration and recuperation that I need so that I can continue to show up to the projects, the people, the communities, the things that we're passionate about, because the world needs each one of us to be alive and on fire and filled with passion and enthusiasm, and we can't do it if we're burned out. So I invite you, my friends, to do what I'm doing and figure out what you need to do to take care of yourself so that you can show up for all the things that you want to show up for. I love you. Have a beautiful Sunday. I will see you in a couple weeks. Take care of yourselves. I'm going to do the same. Much love, my friends.
Morning. And I also told Elijah this. I told him that he has built this community on a strong foundation, on a solid foundation, not one of sand, but one of stone, and that this community is strong. And it resonates with such love for the work that you have done and that everyone here who participates, especially Reverend Elijah, who's holding it all. So I'm very happy that he took my advice. So this morning, I am starting each sermon that I do with an invitation for you and myself to hold an intention for the next 10 minutes. Elijah has given me a stretch in time management to make my sermon shorter than it normally is. I just got down to 20 minutes, and now I got it shorter. So right now, the intention is for yourself to think of something that you want to embrace and take away with, whether it be in that amazing, I was Heather, where are you? I was so touched by that song and how you sang it with such love. I mean, I was crying, thinking, how am I going to get up and bawling? But intention is so important. It means that we put out into the universe something we want to get, to walk away with from the music, which has said so much, from Elijah's message, from my message, from even the prayer that Shira gave, which was amazing. So I'm going to give us about 20 seconds to close our eyes, if you so choose, to hold an intention of what you want to walk away with for self-care for the rest of the week. Maybe it's a feeling of empowerment, of love, of belonging, of success. So right now, let us go inward together and hold this intention for ourselves. And now if I invite you to breathe with me, 3 breaths. Inhale and release. Inhale and release. Inhale and release. Thank you. I'd like to start off with the definition of self-care. One of the definitions is concern, interest, protection in oneself. And with this, it's getting to know how to care for ourselves. And this involves deep self-reflection, honesty, and looking at parts of ourselves that may be difficult to confront and to become aware of. And I have found myself dealing with a lot of loss lately and some disappointment. And I found this quote from Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning. And he says, when a person can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure. People do not simply exist. They will always decide what their existence will be. and what they will become in the next moment. By the same token, every human being has the freedom to change at any instant. I heard something this morning, and it is when we're in despair that we suffer. And this philosophy reminds us that we have choices to rise above despair, to see the world from a different perspective, a spiritual perspective, an inward perspective, a perspective that is built on intuition and instinct of something greater, of the mystery within our hearts and our soul. This one got me. There are 3 definitions of fear. 1, false evidence appearing real. 2, forget everything and run. And face everything and rise. Today is about facing everything and rise. Because I know for myself in self-care that facing physical challenges, health challenges, relationship challenges, hello, can give us a sense of despair. Watching the news, watching the humanity go a little bizarre and berserk, okay? How do we hold on to that spiritual warrior that's within us to stand strong? And I want to say and want to share a couple things. I had some dear people that I love, my beloveds, that passed away in the last 8 weeks. And I thought I was really proud of myself. I did a lot of meditation. I did a lot of prayer. I'm like, I'm doing well. You know, that's kind of a joke because there's always that straw that breaks the camel's back and gets you down on your knees again over something relatively not as large as someone passing and going to the next experience. So this last week, self-care, I thought this was going to be a breezy one. Self-care, okay, you know, it can't be too tough. Oh my goodness gracious. So I'm dealing with a lawsuit with Social Security and one of my kids. And after 3.5 years, the lawyer just quit. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I got so angry. I haven't felt that anger for a while, where it's just like, ah. The next morning, within 12 hours, I manifested a big old sty in my eye. And when I looked at Louise Hayes, the meaning behind a sty is looking at the world with great anger. I was like, well, I didn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out, you know? And as I was mulling over my feelings, I went to bed the next night, and someone vandalized my home. And it wasn't inside my home, it was outside, but it was something that really bothered me, and it was, I had placed some of my parents' ashes around the redwood tree in the front, and I had this statue of an angel. And then also right underneath my son's bedroom window, his window faces the front, I had this beautiful elephant bench, and my son had painted it, and my daughter had meticulously put all these, bejeweled it. It was pretty large and pretty heavy, with beautiful jewels all over it. And 2 people came in and picked up the bench and took the angel. And my heart just was so upset over the meaning I had placed on those things. It just, you know, because I look at humanity and I really do find that all people are beloved, and they get lost, they get sick. And I try to hold that all the time. And that just took me to a place where I had to really go deep, because I had put meaning on things. And as we know in this life, as we know, the fluidity of spirit, it comes and goes in forms. Comes into one form, leaves that form, and goes into another. And our bodies are the last vessel to do that. But everything. I remember thinking, I'm mad because my car broke down, but things break down. They have their life. They have their use. And I remember reading Viktor Frankl's book, In Search of Meaning, that the only way to heal whatever is going on with you is to find meaning within it. That is the search. The search, whatever befalls us, whatever problems we are walking through, and sometimes it is so dark and so heartfelt in suffering that we need a hand up. But we also know that if we go within, we will hear a voice that tells us to rise. It tells us to rise, and our intuition will tell us how to do that. But we must become silent. In being silent, we then can hear the voice of spirit. And it's always in the language of love, nothing else. And I was gathering stories, and I said, I need a good story besides my stuff. And one of our congregants, Janet Ring, many years ago, she was going to Inner Light, and she was going to lunch with a friend of hers, Ganane, is that how you, see, I messed her name up, but she's wonderful. And she was with her going to lunch, and she stepped out of her house to get into her car, and her car was missing. And someone had stolen her car. And right away, Ganane and Janet prayed. And here was the prayer. They prayed for the people to find a better way. To find a better way. I kid you not, the police officer took the report. The next morning, the car was back 3 spaces down. And the police officer said, in my 25 years, this has never happened. The heart and mind work, and sometimes we can't see it because it doesn't manifest in the way we decided it should manifest. Isn't that really the problem for most of us? Is we say we want something and it doesn't look like what we had asked for, and we are going to stomp our feet and say, why doesn't it work? Why me? And I'm not going to lie, I have not totally let go of the angel and the bitch, but I would stand here and be not telling the truth. If, it is what things represent. It's our attachment to things. And our last attachment is this. So we need always to practice our understanding of what gives meaning to our lives, because in there's the treasure. Whatever is befalling you today, look behind it to find and go deep in the self-care to the meaning. What meaning does it have for my life? How am I going to rise as a spiritual seeker? How are you going to rise as a spiritual seeker? That is a gift. It is a gift in this life, because our perspective is only what's right in front of us. That's why we have to look in and up. Because our intuition leads us to look up, and our instinct leads us to look within. And I know that some things seem so much harder than others, but within it is the seed of possibility, what Ernest Holmes talks about all the time. And I would like to read something from the key to wisdom from Ernest Holmes. And today will be a little short because I'm sharing my sermon pulpit with RevElisha today. But it was so impactful reading this from Ernest Holmes, and I'd like to read it now. As we see the confusion of the world, we realize that we must either enter into and become destroyed by it, or see it for what it is worth, partly comic and partly tragic, but temporal and transitory. There is something in us that, despite all the change, never changes. Let us learn to be happy, even in the midst of unhappiness, to laugh, even in the midst of tears, to believe in the midst of unbelief. The person who does this is one whose foundation is certain. They are the spiritual seekers who are able to look out into the world and let their thought dwell on the invisible reality called God, and say with meaning, "Bless the infinite way of my soul and all that is within me, because I know this, love will prevail." And with this, I tell you from the bottom of my heart, as short as it is today, I am totally blessed to be here. And I am honored also. And I would like you to carry something home. I love this. Face everything and rise today. Thank you. And in this, I just like to set it all with a prayer. So as we put our feet on the floor and close our eyes and go within, knowing this, that as you take away anything today from that song of Heather, from the beautiful prayer from Shira, from just the beautiful music, know this, that it is not by merit we get our good, but by our divine essence of our pure existence, of just being here and alive. And knowing that through this philosophy, we have the ability to rise with other spiritual warriors as spiritual seekers, to find the deeper meaning through all things that give us peace, that give us comfort, and most of all, give us understanding for humanity and everything that goes along with that, the tragedies and the comedies, and just the pure essence of beauty in all things. And with that, let us be so grateful, and we say together, and so it is.